are supporting local bookstores, audiobooks, and more. Join the world of stories. As always, thank you for listening.
Hi, welcome to the Libro.fm podcast, where we talk to authors, narrators, booksellers, and more. I'm Craig.
And I'm Olivia.
Ooh, something new. Olivia, for our listeners, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Olivia, and I am on the marketing team at Libro.fm, and I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, for listeners, there is a change happening at the Libro.fm podcast. I will still be continuing to co-host, and I will be joined by my new co-host, Olivia, and I couldn't be more excited.
That's me. I'm excited to be here.
I only had to beg a little bit to get you to say yes to this. I was like, it's super easy. Don't worry about it. It won't take that long.
Doesn't take any time at all.
Now that you've done one episode, do you agree with that or no?
I vehemently disagree. But it doesn't mean
it's too late. It's too late now, Olivia. You've been introduced.
It's enjoyable time, though.
Yes,
I like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll chat more after the episode, but for listeners, April 6th kicks off National Library Week, and we had the opportunity to sit down with Amanda Jones and talk all about libraries and their vital role they play.
Make sure to follow us on social media if you're not already to get involved in our National Library Week celebrations. We have plenty of announcements coming your way. And a fun plug for those of you who don't know, but Amanda is an anti-censorship advocate and she's a school librarian. And we at Libro.fm, we love librarians. And we have a really cool program called the Audiobook Listening Copy Program, ALC for short. And basically, if you're a librarian, you can get access to free and forthcoming audiobooks on Libro.fm. And our goal with that is to help you with collection development, reading recommendations, and more. So we'll put the link /Craig. We'll put the link in the show notes.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll put the link in the show notes for you to sign up.
Yes, I love ALCs. I'm not a librarian, but because I work here, I get ALCs, and they're my favorite time of the month. So if you are a librarian, go take advantage of that. So without further ado, we will roll the interview. We'll start with a clip from Amanda's book, That Librarian, and then the interview will play, and then we'll stick around after to talk about books.
Woo.
When I opened this email on August 14th, 2022, my hands started to shake and I immediately began gasping for breath. The absurdness of it all crossed my mind, and I had the fleeting thought that my preteen students could write better emails than this. But there is nothing funny about receiving a threat on your life. I began again to wonder what possessed someone to send another human being such an email. Sadly, I've been spending a large portion of the previous weeks pondering why random strangers go online to put down, troll, threaten, and defame people who they've never met. Do they wake up and think to themselves, I wonder who I can ruin today to make myself feel better to fill the hole in my life? I believe that anyone who does this kind of thing suffers from some type of trauma or that something elemental is missing from their lives. I am a middle school librarian in a small town called Watson in the southern Louisiana parish of Livingston. I've lived here all of my life and have never thought of leaving. I bought the house next door to my childhood home and am lucky to have my parents as my closest neighbors. Watson sits some 20 miles southeast of Baton Rouge on what folks consider part of the Delta. The land is flat and the sky is big, and in the summer the air is like a steaming wet blanket. The town isn't much to look at, and in the flood of 2016, much of it was leveled. Now that was something. But generally, Watson is a place with few surprises, and that's a lot of what I love about it. Life has its regular rhythms, and I love those rhythms. Love my job, my friends, my family. I take great satisfaction in being a school librarian, which puts me in the heart of the community, all the kids and their families and the rituals of the calendar year. I still feel like Livingston Parish is a good place, but I was not prepared for the surprise it threw at me.
Today, we are here with Amanda Jones, a school librarian and anti-censorship advocate whose new book, new-ish, I guess it came out in August, right? So 6 months ago, That Librarian, The Fight Against Book Banning in America, and quickly became a national bestseller. So one, congratulations, and two, welcome to the podcast, Amanda.
Thank you and for having me. And it's really exciting to have a bestseller.
Yeah, I would say so.
If I'm being honest, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So actually, let's talk about that book. Can you start by telling us a bit about yourself and about your book and why you decided to write it?
I am a 24-year educator. I'm a school librarian, and I work at the same school that I attended as a child. And I've lived in the same small town my entire life, worked at the same school for 24 years. And I'm a school librarian. I went and gave a speech about intellectual freedom and anti-censorship at the public library. Even though I am a school librarian, I went to defend my public library, and I became the target of extremists. And it got really bad, and it apparently made headlines. And I was approached and asked if I had thought about writing a book. And I had never. I mean, I kind of thought about it a little bit, but when you're asked by a senior editor from a publishing company if you've thought about writing a book, you say yes.
Of course I have. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you say yes, even though it seems very scary and you're not
Yeah.
a writer. And but I did have something to say, so I decided, okay, I'll write a book, and I had a lot to say. And it's not winning a Pulitzer Prize. It's not, I'm a librarian. I'm not established author, but I wrote it from the heart, and I'm proud of it. So.
Does your school's library carry the book? I mean, it must, right?
No, no, it's, so my school is only, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. So
Uh,
my book is considered adult nonfiction, so yeah, and I'm not even really supposed to be talking about my book with my students, because of the
why is
whole
that?
issue. Well, the whole book is about book banning and, the harassment I've faced, and, the school system doesn't really want me to talk about it while at work. It's
Mm,
considered outside things, outside
yeah.
opinions, and also my opinions don't necessarily line up with the majority of people in my area. And so I just don't talk about it. I wouldn't anyway, though. I don't talk about my personal life with the kids.
Yeah.
But I have had kids ask me, Miss Jones, did you know somebody wrote a book about you? I saw it at Barnes and Noble.
Like, no, that's crazy. I hadn't heard about that.
And I was like, did they? I didn't know.
Oh, that's funny. So, in addition to writing this book, you narrated it and did an amazing job. What made you want to narrate it yourself versus, having the publisher hire a voice actor?
Well, again, it was one of those things when they ask you, you say yes. Um, I I thought about someone else doing it, but I have a certain Louisiana accent that I wanted to come across in the story when I was reading it, and it's my story, so I wanted to tell it. It was cathartic to record, but I don't like the sound of my own voice, so I've never really listened to to my own audiobook.
Did anything surprise you about the process? Because this was your first time doing something like this, right? So, did anything surprise you, or is it just like,
I was surprised by well, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised at how thorough they are with the editing,
Mhm.
because I have written op-eds and things, but I was surprised at how we went through 1 or 2 edits, but I was picturing that I was gonna have to re-edit like 30 times. I don't know why I thought it was relatively easier, although it was a lot. I knew that my grammar and punctuation are not that great, so I was surprised that the story is mine though. Like they really didn't, except for some grammar and punctuation mechanics type things. Like they didn't try to change the way I wrote it. So I was surprised about that being someone that's not an author.
you are an author? What are you talking about?
You
Well,
are.
I mean, I am. I guess before this,
Yeah.
before this, I wasn't.
You're a best-selling author. That should definitely precede any time you mention
Yeah.
author.
I was just gonna say, I'm more. I mean, I guess I am an author, and I just consider myself a reader, and I prefer that role as a reader and a librarian and someone who gives people the books and not necessarily identify as the creator of the books, if that makes any sense.
I think that you tell your story. I mean, obviously, you've had a lot of experience with telling your story over the past X amount of years, but you tell it, especially in the book, so well. And I think that there's so much that you do that as we're learning along with you about like what you're facing next, I'm having the same thoughts that like maybe you had at the time. We're approaching these things in the same way that you start to approach them. And there's a moment in your audiobook that really stood out to me when you're at the We Need Diverse Books dinner, if I'm remembering correctly. And you're telling us, the readers, about the table, speaking about the Little House on the Prairie series. And you go home and you reread these books with a new lens based off of that conversation. And you realize, oh my gosh, the series is not what I remembered it to be. And I think that's something that, like, a lot of us as rereaders, as we get older, we have those moments when, whether it's like spurred on by these conversations or just something on our own accord. And then you start to have this internal debate about whether removing those books from your school library is censorship or if it's making room for books with more positive representations of race. And I know that's something that I've always wondered about. And I know that it's something that a lot of readers I know we're always curious about is what is that line between censorship or soft censorship and mindfulness of harmful content. And I know in the book that you're upfront that you don't have all the answers. And I don't think any of us have all those answers. Obviously, like, the landscape is always changing, but I'm curious if you've had any thoughts on that situation or similar ones since, and what advice you might give to individuals.
So thinking just, off the Little House on the Prairie series, we had the full set at one time in our library, and I always, looked on it with nostalgia, and there's still some parts of it that I do. And then as far as my own school library, kids lose books. So as as I was doing, every year we go through our collections, and I only had like 3 or 4 of the set left because the other ones have been lost. And I looked at it, and the kids weren't checking it out, and we have such small space. Like, I don't have a large library. I have such little space that I was at the point where I could have purchased the 3 or 4 that were missing from the series, or weeded the other ones. And I did choose to weed those out. Um, and not necessarily from the way how I felt about the stories. It was the circulation. They weren't being
Yeah.
checked out.
Yeah.
And so I look at we're genrefied. So I had them in the historical fiction section. And I look at, there's so many newer works that are just, they're better written, and they could be this generation's Little House
Right.
books, you know? And so I did weed mine because they weren't being checked out, to make more room for things like more Alan Gratz. They can't get enough Alan Gratz historical fiction, but other works that the kids would like. I still don't have the answers though to that. It's, when does it come, if a book is harmful and portrays a harmful stereotype versus, there's still things I'm not sure about.
I mean, but the great news is that you're an educator and there's so many other educators like you that can answer questions or like help point kids in different directions or give them books to, if they want to read that one, here's another option if they're interested, or something to read on top of that. I think that's just as important for starting conversations as well. So you are a trained individual that knows how to do that, which is wonderful.
That's the thing. People have to trust your librarians. And I also weeded at the same time. I weeded Caddy Woodlawn, which is also kind of similar time period. I mean, but they weren't checking. And I look at Caddy Woodlawn with, I just loved it growing up, but they're not checking it out. So why would it we're not a
Right.
museum or a warehouse. I only have so much shelf space, and I want to get books that kids are going to read. So
Right.
I'm picturing a kid checking out Little House on the Prairie and you sort of secretly hoping they lose it, like.
There are some aspects of those books that, like, I look back fondly on. But you do look at it with a different lens when you get older and you know better. And hopefully when you know better and now I feel like I need to go back and reread all the books
Yeah.
that I talk about, that from when I was that I read when I was younger, just to make sure. But I don't know. It's a slippery slope with censorship, and when to our feelings, and I just don't want to do any harm. So I don't want to have books in the library that would be harmful to kids.
Yeah.
Totally. If you could hand one book, besides your own, of course, to every school board member in the country, what book would it be and why?
Oh my gosh.
No pressure.
No pressure. Um, I would say I would hand them The Undefeated by Kwame Alexander.
Mm.
Um, because first of all, it's beautifully written and beautifully illustrated, and it's short, so they would read it. Um, but it does talk about and it's won so many awards. There's several aspects to why I would pick it because it's professionally reviewed for pretty much every age. And but it does say because Black Lives Matter in there
Mm.
in the book. And I would hope that they would see that it's not a propaganda or a movement, that there are children in our schools that are African American, they are Black Americans, and these stories matter to them. And so that would be the one I put in the hands. And then it's so easy to defend it because it's won so many awards and it
Yeah.
has so many starred reviews. It's so easy to defend it from a professional standpoint.
I like that when I first asked the question, you were like, "Oh boy," and then you had an answer like so prepared. You were ready.
Just I thought about what's a book that I really like that some people take exception with.
Yeah.
And they only take exception with The Undefeated because it has that one line that says, and Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And that to me, I'm like, well, why does that one sentence freak you out?
And we know that most people, 71%, according to the American Library Association, oppose book bans. And we have the tools to fight them. Like you've provided, your book does a fantastic job at outlining so many different resources and steps and organizations and just ways to not only stay up to date with book bans, but to just really get involved in the fight against them, which is so helpful. And you mentioned Kelly Jensen at Book Riot a lot. We're huge Kelly Jensen fans. We've had her on the podcast. And there are just so many resources out there circulating for individuals. And yet the book bans keep happening and they're expected to keep getting worse. And I know one thing that I'm always really struggling with is why there is this disconnect. You know, we have the tools, we know most people oppose them, but we're also not taking action. And I'm curious what you would say to individuals that, you know, oppose book bans, but have yet to do anything to fight them.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with because I think there are a lot of people in communities like mine that want to fight back, but they don't know how. And it takes someone standing to step up and say, take the reins. And you do see that a lot. It's the book banning and it's such local fights. And the people that are screaming for book bans are so loud
Right.
and they're so mean and hateful and personally attack you that people are scared. But there's power in numbers. So when you can get a group together, an alliance together that can fight back, it's easier because there's strength in numbers. I know that when I first started fighting back in my own community, I felt like I was the only one, and there was 2 or 3 other people. But we've all found each other because the 2 or 3 of us stood up and said, this is what we're fighting for, and we were joined by other people. So it takes someone in the community to step up and say, all right, we're going to form this organization or follow my lead or, you know, and it can be scary to be that first person. I was kind of that first person. I didn't really mean to be. I just went and spoke and I just became that person. And,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of me's out there in other communities. You just have to find them and
I mean,
stick with them.
your book is inspiring so many people to hopefully be those quote unquote me's as well, to stand up and take action in their community. So that's amazing.
I hope so. I have had people contact me and said, I read your books and I started an alliance in my own community. And I started this and I started that. And so like, you know, if it can help just one community or one person, my mission was accomplished. So
Speaking of finding your people and building an alliance and strength in numbers, we would love if you could tell us a little bit about the Louisiana Citizens Against Censorship and the work that they're doing. Thanks for teeing up that question perfectly, by the way.
So I am a founding member of Louisiana Citizens Against Censorship, but really it was kind of already in the works. We're all in Louisiana, we're all fighting the same extremist group that is pushing all of the library hate. And we're parishes, not counties in Louisiana. So there were several different parishes that which we were all fighting in our own parishes, in our own communities. And we all started talking with each other. And two of the women that were fighting in Lafayette Parish, where it is kind of where it all started in Louisiana, Lynette Mejia and Melanie Brevis, already had in their mind that they wanted to join everyone across the state. So I came along and I said, "Hey, Lynette and Melanie, why don't we all get together and form a statewide thing?" And Lynette goes, "Oh, well, actually, I was already thinking about it and I started a website. What do you think about this?" So she already had the website and the design and everything. She already had it in her head. And they just allowed me to come on as one of the founding members and really it was their brainchild. And Lynette she runs the website, she runs the socials. She just lets me help as a founding member and as someone on the executive board, but we're so very proud. I'm kind of the liaison of the grassroots organization to our state library association. I'm on the executive board of both Louisiana Library Association and Louisiana Citizens Against Censorship. So I'm kind of the liaison between the grassroots organizers and our librarians. And I'm very proud to be both. And I think it takes people that are working in all the different groups. There's got to be people that connect the different groups because we're all better together when we build coalitions and we have people, that can work together with different organizations.
I think starting something like this can seem really daunting or difficult, or like I wouldn't know where to begin. And it's so important for communities. If you were to give any kind of advice for how to start a similar coalition in, other people's, neighborhoods and communities, what advice would you bestow?
Well, I would say social media is key. Just start a social media page. We started Facebook because that's where our stakeholders in our community, they monitor Facebook. And I started it myself, the Livingston Parish Library Alliance, which was my local. And I just started posting and I invited everybody that was my Facebook friends. And I said, "Hey, invite 5 of your friends." And it just kind of grew from there. Anybody who wants to make a page can make an alliance or a coalition or an organization page, and you don't have to put your name on it. You can do it anonymously. But I would say this: if you are thinking about it, the people that are pushing book bans and censorship are very hateful and vicious, and we cannot act like them. So if you're going to form something to push back, do it with empathy and kindness and integrity, because that's going to go a long way. To get everyone in the community involved, because no one's going to join a hate group. So,
Unfortunately, a lot of people do, I think.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I realized after I said that, after that came out of my mouth, I realized what I just said. And yes, they do. But I think if you're a library lover and you're wanting to push the truth out, people are waiting. People are just waiting. They're just waiting to say, "Here's this petition," or "Here's this meeting," or "Here's this." And you just say, you give them the tools and people will step up.
Yeah.
But social media is key. You got to have a social media page.
Yeah. And beating them at their own game too, because obviously that's where so much organization happens for book bans. So creating a positive, like you say in the book, / Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high, creating a more positive space for folks looking to fight these bans.
Yes. And you just want to give them the tools to do it and build those coalitions, like partner with other people. Like there's League of Women Voters in almost every state, and they're nonpartisan, but they believe in the Constitution, and they'll help you out and they'll help you. We have a group in Louisiana, 10,000 Women of Louisiana, that none of us in our coalition knew how to go and speak at the legislature, but we wanted to. So we just asked. So ask people in your community that are, like these groups that are nonpartisan. If you don't want to align yourself with one party or the other, there's tons of people out there that will help you build coalitions and websites and things and help you speak at meetings and legislative sessions.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Now that you've given this very uplifting speech, we're going to shift into our lightning round and ask you a bunch of much sillier questions. So I don't know if you've ever heard the podcast, but every episode we ask some sillier questions after the meat of the interview. So I believe Olivia has the first one.
Okay, so I was on my walk the other day and I was listening to your audiobook and I burst out laughing when you said that some child put chicken tenders in the library return box. And I got some weird looks. But I'm wondering what the weirdest or silliest thing that you've ever found in the library return box has been.
I did find a deflated volleyball in there one time. Or I don't know what kind of ball. It looked like a volleyball, or it could have been, I don't even know. It was just deflated, like, and I'm like, why is that in there?
That's
Where did
so
it,
strange.
yeah, like where did it come from? And it looked like a volleyball. I don't even know if those are I don't know. I was like, I don't know how that got in there. But I get lots of school rolls and nuggets all the
Wait, you
time.
get
'Cause
lots of nuggets? This wasn't a
yeah,
one-time thing?
no, because you have to go through the cafeteria to get into the library. So
Do they think it's a trash can or are they just trolling you?
I did find a bunch of raisins the other day all around the drop box, and I realized it was because they were trying to shoot them into the drop box like it was a basketball goal, but it was it was like a backboard and it was bouncing off. And so that was like all the raisins. So
Oh my God.
our door to the library is in the cafeteria. So that's why I get that. But yeah.
Good foot traffic, but bad for other reasons for sure.
Yeah.
Oh
The
my gosh.
deflated ball, that was weird because I'm like, you could have just walked the one step forward and put it in the trash can.
Also, it sounds like you would have to try to get that in there. Like you had to want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know.
That is so funny. What is your go-to fake excuse when you need to leave a boring conversation or situation? Like you're out somewhere and you're like, I got to get out of here.
I usually say my husband's calling me. Oh, my husband's calling me. He works nights. We're on a different schedule, so I have to go because
This must be
he's about to go
important.
to
I gotta
sleep.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband's calling. I gotta go. Or my daughter's calling.
Yeah.
But she usually is calling me. That if I had to leave a meeting, because she usually is, because she's calling me about something.
Well, hopefully none of your friends listen to this podcast, or we're gonna have to
I was
think of a
gonna
new
say.
excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my husband. I blame him.
Yeah, like sure, I bet it is.
If you could be best friends with any character from any book, who would it be and why?
Okay, that's easy for me. It would be Joe March from Little Women.
Mm.
And that's why I named my daughter after Joe March from Little Women. I just think she's one of the most well-written characters. If you think about the time period that she was written in and how headstrong and assertive, but she knows what she wants and she's not wanting to settle, and she's outspoken, but she's also loving and kind. And I mean, she chopped her hair off for her family to have money. So like, she just like the best character I think ever written. Now, I haven't read Little Women in a while, so maybe I'll read it and I'll
Don't
be
do
like,
it.
oh
Don't
my
read it. What
gosh.
if you don't like it anymore?
I know. But I read it in 7th grade and I said, if I ever have a daughter, I'm going to name her Josephine after Joe March. And it just so happened I did. So
That's
I love that.
amazing. But yeah, don't go reread it. What if you're like,
yeah, it
about
might
that
ruin my
name?
childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. My childhood experience with the Little Women.
Right. The next one and last one for lightning round is a would you rather. And would you rather have a personal maid or a personal chef?
Maid.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Oh, I hate to clean. I hate
Oh,
to
I'm chef.
clean.
I love cleaning, but a maid sounds great.
Yeah, like I don't like food. Like I don't like I can eat whatever. I don't care. I'm not a foodie. You know, there's people that are foodies and they like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't
Nice
care.
clean house and ordering DoorDash. I like it.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, you have so much food coming your way through that library Dropbox anyway, so you don't
Right?
even-
Sure, you
Just
already have a personal chef.
Like rehydrate the rock hard roll. That's
Yeah, all the
my
chicken
God.
nuggets and raisins you could ask for.
yeah.
All right, our last thing before we ask you for book recommendations and then let you go is Instagram story time, where I think I mentioned this before we started recording, but we look through your Instagram, pick a picture that we are very curious about. But I feel like, Olivia, you had some good ideas about this one, so I'll let you tee it up.
There's a photo of you with what I think is a llama. Honestly, I can't really tell llamas and
Oh,
alpacas apart. So I apologize if it's an alpaca. I think it's a llama. And I'm curious what the context is behind this photo and how the llama was.
okay, so I think it was a llama. It might be an alpaca. I can never tell them apart either. So that was at the Sacramento Public Library, and I was there to speak to the Sacramento Public Librarians. And I don't know why they had that. It was part of some event that they were doing, and they were like, "Do you want to come meet our llama out back?" And I was like, "Yes." And then the llama wouldn't even look at me, so I was offended. It's like, it won't even look at me. It like turned away from me. But it was at the Sacramento. I don't know why they had it there, but I was started making jokes about there's that series of book, Llama Llama, No More
Right.
Drama, all that.
That was our guess when we were trying to guess. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I bet they were doing a reading of Llama Llama.
I don't even remember. It was like I've been to so many places, and so like I don't even remember why they had it. But that it was at in Sacramento. I'll have to ask Peter Coyle, who is the director of the Sacramento Public Library, why he had that llama there.
I mean, public libraries have so much more than books, and now they also have llamas. So you
Yes.
really can get anything at
Yes.
a public library.
My mom was with me. I had taken my mom with me on that trip, and she was worried about it spitting on her. So she wouldn't get near it. She's like, I don't want it to spit on me.
Maybe that's why he kept his head turned.
Maybe.
He was looking for your
was being
mom.
nice. He was looking for my mom. That's funny.
Well, before we let you go, we end every episode with asking for book recommendations. This can be a book you read 20 years ago or something that's not out yet or just something you love. What should we be reading?
So there's a good book, and I want to say its book birthday was like yesterday or next week is coming up. It's called Band Together, Our Fight for Readers' Rights, and it's by Ashley Hope Perez is the editor, but it's like multiple short stories. It's a compilation of lots of different stories and things. So I read it early on. I got to read it. So I think it's coming out. If it hasn't come out this week, it's coming out soon in the next week or two. But it's several different authors and people have written, and Ashley Hope Perez, who is one of the most banned authors, her books are some of the most banned, put this together. It's called Band Together, Our Fight for Readers' Rights.
Amazing.
It looks like, according to the PRH site, it came out yesterday. So everyone go get it.
I knew it was like coming up. Like
Yeah.
I've lost track of time and space recently with what the date is. I knew it was coming out soon because I need to get like my own actual physical copy, other than the PDF I got to read in advance.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Like we said, I'm sure you have a million things going on, so we really appreciate you making time. This is really fun.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
for
so much,
having
Amanda.
me.
Yeah,
Thanks for
all you
having
do.
me. And I'm just keep on keeping on. I'll
Yeah.
go back speaking out against censorship and up for intellectual freedom. So thank y'all for having me and let me tell my story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amazing. So great to hear from Amanda and all her tips and insight on fighting these book bans that are taking place. And if you want to learn more about fighting book bans, you can find all of our resources at www.Libro.fm/band. And once again, Craig will put that in the show notes.
Yes, of course.
But Craig, tell me, what have you been reading these days?
I just finished a book called Creep, a love story by Emma Van Straten. And it came out February 25th, 2025. So it is on the shelves now, so you can go grab it. This book was creepy, just like the name states. It lived up to the title for sure. I'll tell you about the book in a second, but I do think it's interesting that when I was looking up information about the book, the UK version is called This Immaculate Body, and the American one is just called Creep.
That's really different.
I mean, sorry, the titles and the covers are both drastically different. Like, to be honest, if I saw the UK one, I don't know if I would have picked it up. But I saw the Creep cover and I was like, ooh, that's for me. And I looked it up a little bit, and apparently she just said it was, two very different markets, and they just changed the cover and the title to kind of suit those markets.
That's so interesting.
And it worked. like I just said, if I saw the UK one, I might not have picked it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
The US one kind of looks like a horror book or something, and the other one looks like I don't know. Go look it up, everyone. I'm not going to explain the covers to you, but very different and interesting.
Well, the horror version is right up your alley, obviously. So
Yes. I just want to read the first sentence from the kind of like blurb because I think it's really interesting. But it says Alice and Tom are made for each other, deeply connected. They share a flat in London, go to galleries together, enjoy the same books and wine. They even share a toothbrush. It is all picture perfect,
Ew.
except Alice and Tom have never met.
Oh,
So I read that and I was like, sign me up.
what? Oh, I
Yeah.
think I have heard of this one. I feel like it's a little buzzy on social media.
So she's his house cleaner. So she feels like she knows him intimately because like she's
Uh-huh.
in his house all the time and like looking at his pictures and like she like builds this whole relationship in her head that
Shares
like
his
they're meant.
toothbrush.
Oh, the tooth. I won't ruin it. It's so gross. This book is not for the squeamish. I'll tell you that much. Like, you know, it's
Okay,
not
not
like,
for me.
yeah, it's not like Saw or something, but it's pretty vile at aspects. I won't say too much more about it other than that it is so interesting and it's very like I don't want to say it's like You, that Netflix show, but it has vibes of
Mm,
that to me. Like it's like stalkery and creepy and
mm,
just like there's a lot of like I don't know if you saw You, but there was so many times where he like almost got caught being in like someone's house and I was like my heart was
mm.
pounding and this has a lot of that same feel to it. I really really
Intrigued.
liked it. So
Good.
go get it. Maybe not you, but other people.
Other people.
Yes. So that's my recommendation for the episode. I'd love to hear what you're reading, Olivia.
So my recommendation is 2 parts, but that's because one of them is not on Libro.fm. And I don't know if that's allowed, but they're connected.
You're breaking the rules. Go for it.
I'm breaking the rules
Yeah.
on my first podcast episode.
Yes. First and last.
Yeah. Sorry, you'll have a new co-host next month.
Yes.
I fell in love with the book All Friends Are Necessary a few months ago by Tomas Moniz. And after reading it, I was like, I have to read Big Familia, which is another book from a few years ago by him. And so I looked everywhere. That one is not on Libro.fm, which is why my recommendation is 2 parts. Finally, like I couldn't find it at any bookstore. So finally I ordered a used copy from an indie somewhere out of state
Mhm.
and tore through it. Loved it. So my recommendation for you is to go read All Friends Are Necessary, which is on Libro.fm slash I think you can find it pretty easily in any bookstore if you prefer a hard copy. But these books, I keep describing them to everybody as like a warm hug. They're super sad at times. And
So really similar to the one I recommended, I'm hearing.
exactly.
Yes.
Completely the same.
A warm hug that you didn't see coming.
But yeah, they're really sad, but also just so I think the author just does a phenomenal job at like describing these warm moments between different sorts of relationships, whether it's like friendship, familial, romantic, etc. And I'm a little biased because they take place in the Bay Area, so I like to notice locations that I also frequent.
I am the same way about any kind of book or movie that's about Boston. I'm like, I know where that is. So I like this movie now.
They called out one of my favorite coffee shops and I drew a bunch of hearts next to it. I was like, I've been there.
Wait, you drew in your book?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What? You don't? Okay, that's a different conversation for a different time. Don't go on social media, Craig. Don't go on to like.
I didn't realize my new
Bookstagram.
co-host was a monster.
Oh my gosh, you will die if you go on Bookstagram because you'll see everybody like annotating and freaking out about how beautiful some annotations are.
That's crazy.
Anyway, I digress. Go read All Friends Are Necessary by Tomas Moniz. It is sad, but it also is so beautiful. And I feel like it is just so comforting in so many ways.
I love it. Maybe it will be a good palate cleanser after the one I just read. I will go try to find it.
Radically different from what you just read.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for listening. If you are not a member yet, you can use the promo code SWITCH when signing up, and you'll get 3 credits instead of just 1 for your first month. And if you follow the podcast, please throw us a rating. If you don't, you should. It's a great time. And as always, thank you for listening.